Good morning. We'll be joined in a few moments by the head coach of Michigan, John Beilein. After 20 minutes, we'll be joined by student athletes Duncan Robinson and Mo Wagner as well. Continuing the rest of the schedule for today's availability, John Beilein will be with us from noon until 12:30. Duncan Robinson and Mo Wagner will join him from 12:20 to 12:30. And then from 12:35 to 12:55, we'll have breakout sessions for the student athletes from Michigan. Villanova head coach Jay Wright will join us here in the main interview room from 1:45 to 2:15. Student athletes will join him here from 2:05 to 2:15. And then from 2:20 to 2:40, we'll have breakouts in the breakout areas for the Villanova student athletes. Just a reminder, if you're joining us here in the main interview room, please silence your cell phone. Take a moment right now and do that, please. Please refrain from any flash photography. Also, the use of any video recording devices is not permitted here in the main interview room. That includes handheld cameras, mini cameras, or mobile phone cameras. And you're not permitted to go live on any social media platform or stream from the main interview room at any time. If you need information on our satellite coordinates, please see the gentleman and the lady from Hammond Communications. They have the information for you. And if you have a question for any of the coaches or student athletes this afternoon, please raise your hand. Our microphone attendants will send the microphone in your direction. Or maybe my monitor needs to go up. I'm not sure. Maybe I needed my monitor. Where's my monitor? It's okay. I'll roll with it. Next, Duncan Robinson and Mo Wagner will join him shortly. Hey, good morning, Coach. Good, how are you? Did you get any rest, Coach? Very, very little.
No, I didn't sleep very well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Coach Beilein has now joined us. We'll ask Coach just to give his initial thoughts, and then we'll start with some questions.
Well, I got back, obviously, with all the media responsibilities after the game. I didn't get to see the first half of Villanova. I'm sort of glad I didn't get to see it. The second half, I did get back to my hotel room in time to watch it. It was it was an offensive clinic against a very good defensive team. And we're just pleased to be in this forum right now where we're still playing on the last day. And today will be, there's very few times that a coach gets to say to his team, this is our last practice of the year. And we get to say that today. This is the last time you have to focus in practice. And I just really feel blessed to be in this situation, and but also know there's a tremendous challenge ahead of us with Loyola, with what we have with Loyola and now Villanova. The reason I made that mistake there is because Villanova is just another form of Loyola, and probably a little taller. A few shot blockers inside, and just probably better in some respects and maybe not in some others, but just really a great example of how the game should be played, just like Loyola was. So we got our challenges, and we're going to do everything we can to meet that challenge.
Coach, let's start up front in the center. Let's take the microphone.
Brad Galley from WXYZ in Detroit. I'm curious what your relationship with Jay Wright was like when you coached against him in the Big East, and then if this NCAA tournament were a movie, what actor would portray Jay and what actor would portray you?
Oh, that's an easy question. I would say that if he broke in, he was brought into Villanova, had a couple tough seasons, and he came in to bring Villanova back. We followed at West Virginia 1 year later. So I think we were both in the bottom of just the first couple of times we played. There were great games that we were both just trying to win a game. The NCAA tournament was a dream at that point for both of us. And I made one move after that, but we've known each other for a long time. Patty and Kathleen are friends. We have a great relationship. And at the end of tomorrow's to answer that question, at the end of the game tomorrow, he'll still look like George Clooney, and I will look like Columbo by Peter Falk at the end of that thing. So there's your comparison. I'd like to say Kevin Costner, but I can't go there.
Coach, let's go to the third row in the center.
Coach Ed Graney, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Jay, after the game last night, said he never thought about one, never mind 2 and 3 years. He never allowed himself to think about that. How often do you think you've thought about it, of the clock going 0 and you being the one that's won that game?
So he never thought about being the champion. Is that what you're referring to? No, I never think about that either. You just think about the next game. That's all we think about. The two things I get most common would be, are you enjoying this? I'm not enjoying this. I'm working. I mean, I love working, but it's not like I'm sitting around laughing all day long and saying, isn't this great? I got a great view of the concert and a great sound for the concerts right outside me. And I'm looking, I said, boy, those guys are all having fun, but we have work to do. The other one would be what would this mean? It would just mean that we did our best and we ended up, having more breaks than other teams. And it would be great for all our fans and university.
In that same row, just to the left, Aaron.
Coach Aaron Beard with the AP. I know you're focused on a lot of weapons that they have, but I wanted to ask you specifically about Bridges. What concerns you most about a guy like that? Both he can score within the flow of what they do without needing the ball, but he can also really affect the game defensively.
Yeah, he is he does so many things well, and and I'm like Jay's probably the same way. He didn't spend the whole year watching Michigan play. But my assistants have been on it all week, and now I'm really getting my first glimpses of him. I don't watch other basketball games unless we're not involved in them. That's the truth. And so I'm just watching all the things he brings to the table from what was 6 a.m. this morning until we just came over here. And he's a complete player. And they got a lot of those guys. And that's why they're playing tomorrow night, and that's why they have 35 wins or something like that, 35-4 I think they are. That's why they have all those wins.
We have two in the row behind, Jeff first and then Nicole.
John, you guys have done as good a job as anyone winning with under-the-radar recruits and developing them. Are there certain qualities that you look for in those types of players when you're recruiting them? And then is there a process with John Sanderson that you go through in terms of identifying which ones you can develop?
Yeah, I think that too many times people that do recruiting ratings do not look at, well, what is the development like at this school they're going to go to, and what is their strength and their quickness and strength training, the overall development, their athletic training, all these things that we study so much at Michigan. And they're trying. It's such an inexact science, and I don't think you can ever do the numbers of, the 3 stars and the 2 stars that turn out to be 5 stars in 4 years, and the 5 stars that turn out to be 3 stars in 4 years. And it happens like every day. And as a result, we've had great fortune with highly rated players, and then we also have the Karis LeVerts and Nick Stauskas and even the Spike Albrechts, who probably never thought he'd play pro, but he had a heck of a college career. So we always say, and I think it was Rudy Tomjanovich said this, where you're not amassing talent when you build a team. You're building a team. You're not amassing talent. And we just try to build a team. And but John Sanderson, everything, development is a understood approach to when you're recruiting. You think all these, you get a freshman and all of a sudden it's going to turn the program around. Not if he's not going to develop. He's not going to turn any program around. And I think that's what Villanova is specialized in right now. I couldn't believe how many guys have redshirted for a bunch of reasons, I'm sure. That makes them a much older team. And that's really an advantage today in college basketball.
Now to Nicole.
Nicole Auerbach, The Athletic. John, how, if at all, do you think you would look at your career if you have a national championship in it or you don't?
I honestly say I wouldn't look at it any differently. I really would not. Others may, but I don't think Kathleen and I would look at it any different. This is what we've done. This is like approaching some 1,200. I haven't done the math, like 1,200 games as a head coach, and it's just like you hang in there, and you just do your absolute best every single day. And someday you're going to say, "Hey, I gave it everything I had," and that's. If I'm falling into my grave, that's okay too, right? But you just do everything you can to be the best coach, the best mentor, the best teacher, the best husband, the grandfather, father every day, and then you go do it again. And that's all I want to be.
In the row behind, we'll start on the left, Ben.
Ben Balch, Los Angeles Times. What would you say has been Luke's biggest imprint on your defense, and what's your confidence level in his thoughts on stopping and his plan for stopping the three-point barrage that Villanova has?
He has a tremendous influence in our defense right now. And when we did this a few years ago, and I just want somebody that just thinks and breathes defense. Let me take care of offense and defense, but we need somebody only concentrating on this, where it would be. So he actually doesn't have every scout, but Sadi's got this scout, but he is, watches that film. But you know what he's doing right now? He's cutting our defense from yesterday that would look like what Villanova's running, so that we could watch ourselves guarding similar action. And there are some similarities. So he's got a great influence, just a great influence, and a very strong presence in practice. And the second part was, there was a second part?
Your confidence level and his thoughts on how to deal with Villanova.
Well, I think we have to watch a lot more film and make some decisions, and I'm probably not going to give the whole scouting report to everybody in this room or to Jay. So we'll talk. We can talk about that after the game tomorrow.
In that same area with Nancy, then we're going to go Hoops and Ralph, then we're going to go to the back with Zach and come back up this way.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. John, this is kind of piggybacking off of Nicole's question. When you look back at the 2013 game, do you think about it any differently now, or what are your feelings about that? And is there any part of you, in even like the deepest corner of your mind, that thinks, I've already won one?
No, we didn't win that one. It was fair and square. They didn't have 6 guys on the court. They didn't have, their Rick's brother-in-law reffing or something like that. There was just nothing. There was nothing going on in that game. We lost the game. They won it. I'm going to leave it like that, and that's the way it should be. And we had our chance, and we couldn't quite get it done. And we didn't get breaks in that game. Maybe it all said, Coach, you're not going to get any breaks in this game, but you don't know it. But in 5 years, Jordan Poole is going to hit an incredible shot to give you another opportunity. And so It was a great basketball game. It was really a great game. When you think Luke Hancock, who was virtually unrecruited out of high school, and Spike Albrecht, unrecruited out of high school, were the two. That's all anybody talked about at halftime. The rumor was Spike's Twitter account went from 5,000 followers to like 20,000 followers by halftime. So it was a great event, but we didn't win it. And we'll never say we're national champs.
On the right side of the aisle, Hoops.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hi, Hoops.
Villanova's two bigs, Pascal and Spellman, have unique skill sets, and because they can face up and shoot from three. Bill last night said he had some difficulty trying to determine how to guard them, whether to go too far out on the floor, whether to stay home. What problems do they present as players?
Well, anytime you have this is Golden State Warriors here. This is Draymond Green, type of thing where your guys can shoot it, they can pass it, they can do everything. It's like we like to play as well, and it's a great concept. It's one I'm very familiar with. It doesn't mean we can stop it. But it's really when you have whether it was a Pitts-Nagel and Tyrone Sally at our West Virginia teams, we had similar things there. In the last couple of we had Glenn Robinson and well, I guess we didn't have a shooting five then, but it was right with Mo Wagner right now and last year Duncan Robinson. This is and this year with Duncan Robinson, it's the same thing. The 4 and the 5s. They're just guys that are probably a little taller than Duncan and. They're not taller than Mo, but probably they have some similar characteristics and also some differences.
Up to the front left, Ralph.
Coach, right here. I was noticing your team is very good at defending the three-pointer, but not just the amount made, but also it seems like the team is good at holding the attempts down. How do you do that? What's the strategy to keep them from shooting from three as often as they do? Because I would imagine that would be a big thing coming up tomorrow.
It's important with some teams that you play. There's certain teams you want to take those things away from them. They may mate you. If you just look at the analytics of it, the 3-point, it's like baseball, but people don't sacrifice bunt anymore, which still bothers me when we don't sacrifice bunt. But the analytics must say don't do it. Go for the 3-run homer or the 2-run homer. And this is sort of the idea that some teams, that's what they do. You got to every coach in every sport, you're trying to take away what other people do. And we have sort of a plan for that I won't share, but I'm not talking about Villanova over the year. We have some different analytical columns that we try to fill to make sure that we are on the best way the numbers say that we can beat a team.
Up in the front to the right now, Coach.
John, I know you want to win this for Michigan, but it's been a while since the Big Ten has cut the nets in this game. Do you carry that in? How much would you like to be the one that puts an end to that drought?
I'm just telling you, at this time of the year, and I've heard those thoughts before. I just can't. I think every team gets to this point and wins this game. It's not always the best team. It's the team that had a few breaks along the way. And the Big Ten has had some tough breaks along the way. Between our Louisville game, the Wisconsin game, could have gone either way. We could have had 2 more. One thing happens here. I don't think the Big Ten would love to win another one, but it's not like any of us are saying we're Big Ten's not very good. We haven't won a national championship. The Big Ten is as strong as any league is out there, and the breaks haven't gone our way in a couple games, and other people have. And maybe things will change. If they don't, it doesn't change. The Big Ten is good, and it's really good. 14 deep good with incredible coaches. And I'm not carrying that weight on our back or the Michigan weight.
In the back of the room, Coach, to the left side, Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck Culpepper from the Washington Post. This tournament has a rich history of teams that made it to the final Monday night after having escaped a improbable, unfavorable probability somewhere back in the bracket. You had one in Burke's shot from downtown Dallas in 13. I was wondering, how would you describe the dynamic of having done that and then carrying on?
Well, we did it we're there right now with Poole's shot too. I think who did Villanova barely beat when they won it? In Buffalo, New York, I think it was. St. Joe's. It went down to what? The last shot? Yeah. So, and they ended. I think it's that type of adversity sometimes that is. But exactly what I'm talking about with the gentleman over here. It's not about the best team. It's a time that funny bounces of the ball will determine the champion, and that's why we love it. We just absolutely love it, and things could turn a game just like that. And so we've had those breaks. It's been an incredible year for Michigan with very few injuries, a ton of breaks to beat at this point. And I feel guilty sometimes about some of the games we won because we just got this grace fall on us all of a sudden. But at the same time, it's gone the other way many times for some of our teams, and you beat yourself up as a coach and what could I have done? But as I get more experienced in this game, I realize that's what it's about, and that you can't do anything about those things.
On the left side to the right of the aisle.
Brendan Quinn with The Athletic. Hey, John, I wonder, of all the characterizations or mischaracterizations or stigmas that have kind of been attached to you, the program, over the last 10 years, if there's anything that has particularly graded you or that you thought was not accurate?
That's a bad question because I just threw off the perceptions that people have because I know that what's real, right, may not be what the perception is, and that we're trying to get a program that can just sustain itself, and it's very hard to sustain when you have the kids go pro who should have gone pro. But you didn't plan on that when they were freshmen because nobody else thought they were going to go pro, and all of a sudden they're good enough to go pro. And I think that perception that we dipped a little bit in 15 and 16 when we lost our backcourt and 5 guys in the pros and this doesn't work. They don't understand college basketball today in some programs, and actually every program right now, right? It's going to be seasons of up and down because there's such a lack of consistency because of transfers and everything like that. And people have to understand that you just can't be a national champion or in the Final Four every year. And there's years you might even not make the NCAA tournament. And there's usually a reason behind it, and it's not a lack of support. It's not coaching. It's not players. It's just the roster changes, and you got to build it back up.
Coach, we'll go to the right side, just to the left of the aisle.
Mark Ziegler, San Diego Union Tribune. When you ask casual fans about Michigan basketball, I think the thing they associate it with most is the Fab Five. Last night, Steve Fisher was here, Ray Jackson was here.
Mm-hmm.
They were mobbed by fans.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see the love and admiration for them. Yet university still does not acknowledge that team, whether it was with banners, with all the asterisks in the media guide. Do you foresee a day when that changes and the university acknowledges that team, and should it change?
University acknowledges that team, right? The NCAA has just put certain restrictions on that team for what we can do. The university is extreme. We love the Fab Five, and we continue to reach out to the Fab Five and that team. There wasn't just 5 guys on that team now. That was a team of champions as well. But we embraced every part of that. That period is over with. But we were doing everything we can, and then everything else lines up to, we have a lot of things going on in the future. We got more banners to raise. We got more jerseys to raise over time. Just stay tuned to all of that. But the university, when you have NCAA violations in there, that's a time that it takes some time to heal. But I'm looking forward to the times when we get everybody in that group together, and all of that isn't under our control. If you understand that, that's not all under our control. And if invitations are sent and they're not accepted, then that's okay. Then we just keep doing it. But one day, was it the Supremes? One day we'll be together, right? We'll get it all together at one time. In the meantime, we're not going to dwell on it. We're just going to keep moving, and it's Michigan basketball. In the past we loved, in the future we love. It's Michigan basketball. We're all a family.
To the left of the aisle, Mark.
Over here, Mark Tracy from the New York Times. You were talking earlier about 3 stars who should have been 5 stars, 5 stars who should have been 3 stars. I think Muhammad was a 2 or 3 star. Did you foresee that he could be developed, he could grow into the player he is last season and this season?
No. With almost everyone that we recruit, we're projecting. We are projecting. We're not saying who he is. I study birthdays like crazy. Is he? You'll see a kid, and some people rate him in a 17 under league. The kid's about to turn 19. He's playing 17 under. Oh, he's terrific. And then you see another kid that's still 16 playing 17 under. Oh, he's got to wait. He's not good enough. I mean, there's 3 years difference. Anybody's had children, you look at 3 years difference, that's a huge difference. So when I'm looking at Muhammad, is he here? No. But when I'm looking at Muhammad, I'm a Buffalo Braves fan from way back. I watched his athleticism, and I said, how many people know the name Randy Smith? This elite athlete that just needed a jump shot, right? And because he could take the ball to the basket, he came from great DNA. and that he could develop over time if he had the right attitude. And this is a kid who was forced to play as a freshman because of injuries that we just talked about. Forced to play again as a sophomore. We lose Karis LeVert 2 years in a row, a first-rounder, 2 years in a row. And he had to play. And we weren't terrific during those times, but it allowed us to be very good right now.
We're joined now by student-athletes Duncan Robinson and Mo Wagner. We'll take questions for Coach Beilein as well as the two student-athletes. Let's start up front on the right.
John, Jaron Simmons was a big-time scorer at Ohio the last couple of years. How has he adapted to his role on your team this year?
You know, it's incredible. He could have gone the other way with it because it hasn't worked out. He certainly doesn't have the numbers that he had at Ohio U. He's had a great attitude. And as he goes into a different, it's not about an offensive system. It's about defense and taking care of the ball. He's gradually just got better and better at that. Our whole philosophy is we're not turning the ball over. And I think last year we were number 1 out of 366 teams in not turning the ball over. And that was an issue for him earlier. And then defense, it's a different scheme in defense. And he is just every day try to get better in it. I mean, that jump shot he made last night, that's something. He hasn't had the opportunity maybe to make a jump shot in 2 months. And that for him, he goes up and makes that shot. That tells you what type of kid he is. He has not complained. He has just come to practice every day and worked his tail off. And I'm going to admire his attitude and his parents the rest of my life.
All the way in the back on the right side.
Coach Casey Jones with TV. Can you talk about Jude Stamper, the impact he's had on this team, this group, from his day in November to a shot at a title Monday night, and then Duncan and Mo, if you want to answer as well.
I'm going to let them answer that because it is he eats training table with us some days. And many young men, they want to eat and go sleep before the game. Both of these two, everybody's gone, and these two are still sitting next to this young man in a wheelchair and just kicking it with him. I mean, they're great. Speak to that.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, he just brings a constant perspective. His energy and just always having a smile. Whether it's a tough loss or a tough practice or you're just having a bad day and you look over and you see him who's everything that he's been through at such a young age and he's still smiling ear to ear is it's pretty hard to get down on yourself with that. So that, and then on top of that, I mean, I know it sounds corny, but it's true. I mean, he's really a part of our team. Like Coach said, he's at a lot of our film sessions, pregame meals, stuff like that. And, we love having him around. He's a special kid, and he's meant a lot to us.
Mo.
Yeah, going off of what Duncan said, I mean, adding up to that, he really believes in us. And that's something that gives you perspective 24/7. He really believes that we can win any game. He believes in us as people on and off the court, and at such a young age with everything he's been through, that's something that we have to admire and that I look up to. And I'm very happy to have him on my team.
We're going to the back corner on the left side.
Hi, John. When you go up against a game-changing player like Brunson, the player of the year, how much, not only can he score, but the way he can control a game, just your thoughts on the kind of headache he presents and how much of your attention does he grasp?
Yeah, this is, if he was the only one out there, you could do some things. I think Kansas might have tried to double him last night, and he's got incredible poise and a presence with the game that he sees open people. Now, he makes it very difficult, and he's got a good enough size to, how he posts up or he dribble posts up. And those are things that we see a little bit of, but usually the guy is not a guard position. So he's really a difficult matchup. And that's why I voted him as well as the player of the year. And I don't watch, like I said, I don't watch a lot of college basketball. We recruited him. We know him. He's a tremendous, tremendous basketball player. He's a basketball player in so many respects. I think I heard the analogy, he plays like an old man. He does. He plays like a guy that has played forever and just outsmarts everybody.
Same area, back left.
John Fanta, Big East Digital for Duncan and Mo. What have you seen from this Villanova team that you guys need to be ready for tomorrow night?
Mo, can you take that one first, and then Duncan?
They can all shoot. They're really, really efficient on multiple positions. Usually when you play a good team, there's usually something you can give up and can make a defensive game plan, but it's not the case here. But you know what? It's not supposed to be easy. It's a national championship, so they present a tremendous challenge.
Duncan.
Yeah, obviously the the big thing that sticks out is their ability to shoot 1 through 5. That's not something you see very often, particularly at this level. But I think their unselfishness and how they play on offense certainly stuck out to me. And obviously they compete on defense as well. So, like Mo said, we definitely have a challenge in front of us, but, we're ready to embrace it.
To the center of the room, and we're using the back right microphone.
Coach, hey, Andrew Kahn, M Live. Happy Easter, first of all. You guys on a nice run of second half play. I'm wondering how much of that is, the team being in front of the bench. Is it this team just taking to the halftime adjustments you're making, or what's going on there?
No, I think it just that first half, we try to project how a team is going to play us in the first half, both offensively and defensively. And the team's sort of away from you on offense in the first half, and then at least we can see what they're doing offensively in front of us a little bit better. But I think it's just adjustment, not some tremendous coaching at halftime or adjustments in the game. Kids get familiarity with what they're doing because we're giving them all these different looks in practice. And now it takes us a little bit to just read what's happening out there, and then as they get more and more familiar with it, they make what adjustments have to be made.
2 minutes. We're going to try to get 2 questions in. Jermaine and then Bob.
Jermaine Franklin with TSN. Coach, can you talk about the growth of Mo from his freshman year until now, and just the meaning of him to this team?
We only have 2 minutes, don't we, to do that? That could take a long time. But no, he is really good. What his strength still is his just love for this game and love for Michigan and his teammates, and that's meant so much. When he was freshman, he would have a good game, and then he'd have a game that he just was still learning the game. We have to get him right out of there. It didn't change him. The next day, hey coach, how are you? He's just like, I do good imitations of you too, by the way. You know that. And just that's who he is, and the team loves him, and he's been just an asset in every way to the team.
Bob's final questions for Coach Beilein. So we'll thank Duncan and we'll thank Mo at this time. We'll let them head to their breakout sessions, and Coach, if you're so kind, we'll take Bob's question after we let the student athletes go. Bob, we'll let them clear out for the camera shot and then action.
Right. John, I just want to ask you, you talked about, you can't tell when players are going to develop 5 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars. It seems like Charles Matthews is kind of the symbol of that 5-star now, and what he is doing now and how is he developing has anything what he has done shocked you, surprised you? Did you see this in him?
Yeah, there was flashes last year in practice where I said, "Wow, we got something here." But I know better than the great practice player that when the lights go on, as we say, can he still do those things? And I think there was moments this year where he probably questioned himself where he could do some things. If you remember the UCLA game earlier, I said, "Right now you're the MVP for UCLA. We want you to be MVP for us. You can't turn the ball over. You got to make some shots here, and you got to defend your man." And as time has gone on, this young man has bought into, and we didn't invent this game. I'm watching Loyola playing and Villanova playing. They're doing the exact same things that we are in the fundamentals of offense. And so he's just sort of had to learn the fundamentals of offense and defense that are just not drilled the way they used to be done. It just doesn't happen. Nobody goes to a 5-star camp anymore and spends 2 weeks there learning how to jump stop. And so it's our job to teach them those things, and then they can take off from there. And he's just bought in. I mean, it's incredible what a calming influence he is and what a great example he is for the Jordan Pooles and Isaiah Livers, Eli Brooks, who are looking at him and saying, I was highly recruited too, and look at how he's just bought in like he's Duncan Robinson.
We want to thank Coach Beilein for joining us here in the main interview room. Wish you luck, Coach, as you
Thanks,
prepare for
everybody.
Villanova.